This case response will inform you about the dilemmas an assistant superintendent faces in considering the policy and rights for transgender, homosexual, and heterosexual students. Blair High School is the only high school in the township, and it serves about 800 students. The township schools remain on the cusp of being both a rural and suburban district. There are three standout problems in the case. The first major problem to review is that Maddie, a junior high school student, states that she is uncomfortable changing in the girls' locker room during PE class in front of Taylor, a female-to-male transgender student. Maddie's mother, Irene, makes a statement with the assistant superintendent that she is fearful for her daughter's sexual objectification from members of the opposite sex, particularly Taylor, and her daughter is not receiving the protection she deserves. The second major problem deals with the players involved in deciding how to resolve the first problem. People are missing from the decision-making process, including the school's administration and Taylor and his parents. The last problem about staff perceptions and preparation is minor. Most staff are positive and accepting of all students, but some staff struggle with using the correct masculine pronouns to describe Taylor. The stakeholder groups in this case include administrators, teachers, support staff, students, and parents. However, the key players involved are much fewer. Dr. Rita Smith is the Assistant Superintendent of Marion Township Schools. She is motivated, responsible, thoughtful, and has perseverance in tackling Maddie's problem. Seth Hansen is principal of Blair High School with many years of experience. He has had a vested interest in supporting his diverse student population and has been vocal in providing an open and affirming community for his sexual minority and gender nonconforming students. Despite anticipating some sort of negative reaction from the school community about these efforts, he did not actually prepare himself to face them. In the school group, the student group, are Maddie and Taylor. As a female-to-male transgender adolescent who is attracted to females, Taylor easily entered Blair High School's open community. His focus is truly on personal growth and academic success, and most of his peers and teachers welcome him without question. Last to come through the school system among her siblings, Madison, or Maddie, is a thriving junior student and successful athlete taking a physical education class with Taylor. In a follow-up conversation with Principal Hansen and Dr. Smith, Madison states she is uncomfortable in the locker room with Taylor, though Taylor has done nothing to validate Madison's concerns. While Madison's feelings need to be addressed, attention must also be paid to any issues of intolerance or prejudice against Taylor or gender nonconforming students at Blair High School. Madison's parents, Irene and Matt, are active parents within the school district. Public perceptions of their family and achievements are important to them. Although Irene is concerned with the incorrect language Madison uses to describe Taylor, she is more concerned with removing Taylor from the locker room altogether. No other stakeholders are brought into the situation to resolve the problem, including Taylor's parents. Little is to be said about the assistant principal. The case's central problems or issues focus on leadership, communication, stakeholder perceptions, transgender discrimination or injustice, school safety, student rights, and staff preparation. A review of the relevant literature connects these topics with pertinent frameworks and models. The evidence substantiating transgender discrimination in schools is great. Considered one of the most marginalized and oppressed groups, transgender youth frequently experience transphobia and violence based on their perceived gender identity and expression. Much of the literature on transgender policy focuses on the aggression made towards youth in schools and the importance placed on administrators to protect students and develop policies and practices that support gender minority youth. 20 U.S. states have laws addressing harassment and or bullying of students based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Fewer are the states that do not have protections for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender students. 8 states restrict the inclusion of LGBT topics in schools, and Missouri and South Dakota prevent school districts from specifically protecting LGBT students altogether. 14 states have laws addressing discrimination against elementary and high school students based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Among other legislation to consider are the 14th Amendment, Title IX of the Education Amendments Act of 1972, and Davis versus Monroe County Board of Education. The legislative knowledge and language school leaders employ will directly relate to their success in school policymaking. Educational leaders may turn to Channon Morin, Mintzberg, Sousa for a clear direction of organizational leadership. Fostering trust with school constituency groups will enhance relationships and organizational structure. Involving teachers and other stakeholders in important decisions and striking a balance promotes long-lasting solutions. Furthermore, Brubaker, Harper, and Singh's research found that educators need to have a foundational knowledge of LGBT issues, to be ready with leadership strategies when advocating for LGBT persons and communities, and to identify with personal narratives about leadership experiences. Informed by relevant theory and empirical data, we can review the case's central problems and issues. It is clear that Maddie's discomfort, safety, and rights are persuasive arguments for her mother to take in requesting that Taylor be removed from the girls' locker room. Often in these cases, however, prejudices or negative beliefs about the other's credibility, like Taylor's, get in the way of understanding the other's experience in the same situation. A dominant group's moral framework, as in the case of Maddie's heteronormative thinking, requires critical analysis. Maddie and the administrators do not take into consideration Taylor's perspective, and focusing only on Maddie's seemingly prejudiced perspective risks ignoring valuable ethical and moral beliefs that can help solve the situation. Furthermore, hearing this one-sided argument can obstruct Dr. Smith in making an informed decision and in providing protection for Taylor. Unfortunately, many school leaders make this mistake, leaving transgender youth to frequently experience transphobia and violence based on their perceived gender identity and expression and sexual orientation. The next relevant question to this issue is how Dr. Smith is experiencing her ethical dilemma. According to Sterrett, the virtues of being an ethical leader include responsibility, authenticity, and presence. Fortunately, Smith is taking responsibility of the situation and building partnerships with most stakeholders. Building authentic relationships with school stakeholders means sharing power, having moral commitment, and building collegial partnerships, as well as exercising conflict resolution skills. However, little attention is paid to the principal and assistant principal. She has not yet had an opportunity to meet with Taylor's parents. To further include all stakeholders in the discussion and decision-making process would be beneficial. This leads into the second major problem of the case, which deals with the players involved in the decision-making process. The relationships among the stakeholders and the decision outcomes have implications for everyone involved and within the school system. This is what Mintzberg calls the three basic elements within a school system: the strategic apex, middle line, and operative core, or the central office, school administration, and teachers and staff. Not identifiable in his model are the case's students, parents, and community members. A major flaw in the system structure is that Irene contacts the strategic apex directly instead of first involving the school's middle line. The assistant superintendent is enabling this behavior, thereby resulting in failures of trust with the school's administration and in a breakdown of relationships and structure. The staff at Blair High School may need professional development to learn how to better support Taylor and other transgender or gender nonconforming students. Allies and adults in a trans youth's life have the power to support and protect marginalized groups. In particular, the PE teacher, the guidance counselors, and administrators may require additional training to become competent advocates for Taylor. For example, a guidance counselor uses both she and he to describe Taylor. According to the findings of Brubaker, Harper, and Singh, as mentioned earlier, there are three phases of teaching educators. The previously stated players are most likely lacking one or more of the phases: foundational knowledge of LGBT issues, leadership readiness, and personal narratives about relevant leadership experiences. Furthermore, the assistant superintendent does not pay any attention to the PE teacher's level of cultural competence, thereby disregarding a diagnosis or assessment of his or her values and behaviors in handling Maddie's issue in the locker room. In order to exercise appropriate conflict resolution skills, Smith will need to share decision-making power with the school administrators as well as the superintendent, and include both students and families in the conversation. Grint explores the processes of decision makers persuading followers. After the stakeholders meet, she will need to persuade followers over a course of action. Vision and articulation of ethical choices and actions should be a priority. Getting buy-in from staff through professional development and administrators through training can prepare them for justice-oriented teaching and leadership. However, legislation will have major implications for school districts in creating and implementing gender identity and expression policies. There is much for school leaders to learn and consider from the legal frameworks. This point is quite pertinent to the consequences that school leaders may incur. Community support or disenfranchisement may be challenging. However, the staff professional development in this case may only enhance an inclusive transgender policy at Blair High School. If Dr. Smith shares decision-making power, then she will continue to build trust in her partnership with Mr. Hansen and the assistant principal. Moreover, if she includes both students and or parents in a respectful discussion, then she can enhance relationships with the high school constituency groups. Thank you for your time in reviewing this case study response.